This is my other half's 2017 Chevrolet Bolt EV Premier. It's got over 140,000 miles on the clock. It has been our primary vehicle, yes. Despite owning Ortegas, our F-150 Lightning, this is the car that we generally take to run errands because it's smaller, it's easier to drive in traffic, it's easier to park, and it's about twice as efficient per kilowatt hour of electricity as the truck is. And ever since we've owned it, we've been working on ways to upgrade this car to keep it in line with the latest and greatest improvements in technology. We've also made some adjustments to this vehicle to improve quality of life, to make this car more valuable, not necessarily on the open market, but to us. And today, in a day where it's going to hit well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, we've got the tent up, there are flying ants all over, and I've decided it's the day that we're going to continue a series we started back in 2023? I know, it's been a really long time, but don't worry, I've got some cool stuff planned. I know, my hair is a mess, I'm wearing old clothes, it's hot, okay? I'm also going to get kind of hot and probably messy doing the things that I need to do to this car. So for those who haven't kept up, here's a bit of a reminder where we are at. So back in 2023, we worked with Fresh Start Detail in Beaverton. They added a ceramic coat to this car, which protects the paint. It also ensures the car is easier and quicker to clean because dirt doesn't stick to the ceramic coating as readily. You don't need to use as harsh chemicals when you're washing it as you would with a regular car. And it just improves the durability of the paint finish. And it looked, if it was clean, it would still look like a much younger car than it actually is. Remember, this car is fast approaching its 10th birthday, and it still looks much younger, at least I think so. The only thing that lets it down is these roof bars on top. The paint has started to come off, and we are going to replace these at some point in the future. But for those who don't know, my other half recently lost her job, and so we're not spending a huge amount of money on projects right now. Back in 2023, we also added Comma AI, or rather we added the Comma 3 hardware to this Bolt. Now, if your Bolt has lane keep assist, you can add Comma 3 hardware, or in fact Comma 4 hardware. It's not officially supported by Comma, but there is a third-party fork of the OpenPilot software called StarPilot that works like a charm on this car, and it allows you to have eyes up, hands-off driving on large numbers of roads. They are just working to do navigate on Comma, or navigate on autopilot effectively for this car. I don't use it. I would much rather have my hands on the wheel and use this system as a second pair of eyes in case I do something silly. That's, I think, how we should all use these driver assistance features. And at most, I'll take my hands and put them in my lap, ready to grab hold of the steering wheel if required. But today, we're going to do two things that were on the original job order from 2023 that we never got around to. Wireless charging, and also a replacement of the touchscreen display. My beloved Kate, she is a woodworker, and before we even purchased our first electric pickup truck, she used to transport wood in this car, and sometimes even afterwards she would transport wood in this car. Unfortunately, on one of those occasions, she put some dimensional lumber in the car, had the trunk open, and managed to scratch not only the bezel surrounding the infotainment system, but also managed to scratch the infotainment system too. Additionally, the buttons on it are a little bit gummy, they don't work very well, and in the last 6 months, the touchscreen has become increasingly temperamental. And so the other day, when we were downstairs having supper, my wife said, "Hey, when are you going to replace that touchscreen display?" And as anyone who's been married will tell you, when your other half asks you about a project that you've been planning for more than 3 years, it's your indication to do it. So let's go do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to replace the wireless charging module in here with this one. This is a used unit. It was pulled and certified as working. I've had this sitting in my shop now, well, for about 3 years, and it is pin compatible with the connector that's inside the bolt. The difference is that I'm going to have to Dremel off 2 plastic locating pins on the factory harness. Obviously, if that's something that makes you nervous, you shouldn't be doing this particular upgrade. To remove the top part of the cover, all you have to do is there's a series of clips around the outside. And what I did was I literally got a butter knife and just very gently pried it off. Now, bear in mind, this is a nearly 10-year-old car, so the plastic is a little less supple than it originally was. You can break it, take your time. Don't use a screwdriver because you'll mangle the exterior of the trim, but a butter knife just gently put in and very gently twisted was enough to pry it off. This is the top of your gear lever. Obviously, there's a bunch of LEDs in here that indicate what gear you're in when you're driving. And there are also 2 buttons here, the park button and also the select button. They will fall out. I'm going to put some painter's tape over them. Don't ask me how I know. I haven't done this before. Honest. And then you're going to be pulling out this little clip down here. Now there is a little clip right here, and there's a little detent in the plastic housing to allow you to pull this little clip out. This little clip only goes in one way, and it is the clip that holds this gear lever in place. So now if I pull, it should just come off. And there's actually a connector hidden inside. So do not lose this. I'm actually going to pop it back in like this and just leave the lever like that so nothing comes off. The next thing I need to do is pull out the little rubber pocket, because inside here there is a socket that needs to be undone, or rather a bolt that needs to be undone with a socket. One thing I didn't say while I'm undoing this bolt is that you most definitely should not be turning your car on while this is disconnected, because it will throw all kinds of horrible errors, and you don't want that, especially if you don't have tools required to reset the factory warning system. Now, I've never taken this bit off, so we're going to try this bit together and hope it's not too painful. If you're watching this and going, Nikki's center console is wobbling a lot, you're right, it does wobble a lot. It's because the factory bolts have disappeared and I need to replace them. But I'm going to gently lift this up because there's a whole bunch of modules underneath that are in fact connected. But I don't know if you can see, this is the bit that we're going to be replacing. So this is the connector we need to modify. If I grab the new one and I offer the 2 up, you will see that you cannot plug this in because these 2 external locking tabs on both sides get in the way. See these white bits here on either side? They get in the way and they won't slide in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get a Dremel and we're going to cut these off. All right, so to remove this, all I need to do is remove these Torx screws here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to remove those like so. And then I should just be able to lift off this wireless charging module. Oh, there's a 4th one hiding right in the back there. Let me remove that one as well. And you want to not drop anything down inside the cavity. You could get it back pretty easily, but we don't want to make that mistake if we can avoid it. All right. So this is the old wireless charging module, and then we're just going to replace it with the like for like one, which is right here. And of course, I will link in the show notes to all the parts that we used so that you can do this as well if that's something you want to do. I should note, the downside of all of this is that the wireless charging pocket for these is still a bit on the small side, but it looks as if you might actually be able to modify this. In fact, yes, you could. You could make this pocket larger if you wanted to modify this setup for bigger phones, but you would have to modify this trim piece here and you would have to make a larger pocket. So with the module replaced in here, the only thing left to do is to take off these two pieces here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of painter's tape over the end of the connectors and just down like this, just to protect in the event that we get bits of plastic flying around. It's not very clean, but it should work. And then the idea is that we're going to basically cut off these two external pieces without damaging the rest of the unit. Wish me luck. All right. So that's one side done. Some people will probably note that the Dremel was actually driving at a very low speed, and that was intentional because I don't want the Dremel to get away from me. And this is just plastic, so it's not like it needs, you know, it's not metal or anything. It doesn't need a huge amount of cutting power to cut this, what is now quite brittle plastic. And now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, and there you have it. That is now off, and that is pretty unmangled if I do say so myself. Now let's make sure it actually fits and I didn't break anything. So what we're going to do is turn this up like this. This should just slot in here, like so. And it should snap into place, which it just did. All right, that's pretty solid in there. Now we can go ahead and put everything back together. I'm going to take the Dremel and put it away. And yes, that's why I like having an F-150 Lightning with onboard mains electricity. It means I didn't have to snake cables all the way back to the house. All right, so let's put this very dirty center console. Yes, I know, this car is this car has to work for a living. I'm going to put this all back in, and then I'm going to put the bolt back in place. And I was just double checking, it is still down there. So in terms of difficulty, I mean, this to me, and I'm somebody who's replaced a clutch and replaced valves on an engine and rebuilt an engine. This is probably like a 2 in terms of difficulty. Just making sure you have all the right tools and taking your time is the important thing. And yes, I know that drives me up the wall. That's for another day. Let's put this back on. So reverse of installation. So we're going to pull this little clip out. It does only go in one way, she says. There you go. We're going to reconnect this and it will reseat on the pins on the inside of the connector. And then this little clip goes back in with the long arm on the left-hand side of the lever and the short arm on the right. That just clicks back into position. make sure it, doesn't come off in your hand or anything, which it doesn't, so that's good. Now I'm going to just pull this painter's tape off. Painter's tape is great because it doesn't leave a sticky residue, but it does help things stay where they need to be. Now we're going to put the top back on. It's the reverse of the removal. Just push it down until it clicks. All right, so I think that now should work. So now the truth is, will it charge my phone? My hair is now definitely starting to get the hot and sweaty appearance, but I've reassembled everything. The gear lever is back together. I've turned the car on. There's no warnings or anything, which is good. The only thing left to do is to put my phone in this slot and see if it works. So there is a little sign on the dashboard that comes on when it starts charging. So first of all, it will detect the phone, and then you'll get a little sign right here that says, I'm charging. Yay, it's charging. This little sign on the dashboard indicates that the phone is actually now wirelessly charging, which means you can drive along and it will charge your phone while you're driving. It's a little bit finicky about the positioning of your phone. So if I knock the phone towards the camera, it will disappear for a second there. But if I let it fall back, it will come back and go, no, it's good fam, I got you, we charging. So it's a bit of hit and miss, but it does actually now work. So I've done the easy part. Now I have to do the slightly more in-depth, complicated part. And that is because I'm going to have to remove this trim panel, which hides an airbag. So there's a level of caution that I need to apply to that, to then remove this, to then remove the radio. So this center touchscreen display has a massive crack in it. And we've had this replacement panel probably for about 4 years sitting in the shop. This is a brand new factory spec touch screen. It's got the connectors on the back, got all of the factory stuff, and this should just be a direct drop-in replacement for the one that is in our bolt. So we're going to go ahead and remove the dash, install the radio, and then maybe I'll get my wife to do the peel of the protective thing. The first thing I want to know is that in order to get this off, you're going to have to be messing around with this side panel here, the A-pillar cover, and you need to be careful because there's an airbag in here. So how you're going to do this is you're just basically going to go in and then gently pry away this panel, and you'll see it's got a little bit of give in it. So you just have to sort of gently pull it. Now it won't come completely away, because there's a little bungee thing here that holds it in place. So I'm actually going to get my trim removal tools. Hopefully that will make things a little easier. The first thing I'm going to have to do is remove this panel here. This side trim piece is just popped on here. It should be reasonably easy to remove, especially if I get my trim panel removal tool in here. And I nearly broke it, but I didn't. So be really careful when you remove that. That is my lesson. All right, with that off, then what we can do is we can pop up this piece, and then we can pop up the side panel that we need to get to the bolt to be able to pull this out. All right, so it is out. To get it out, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull on this this panel here, and hopefully it will come out with the panel in place. Now I should point out this car has the little LED strip that runs down the top of the dash. So I'm expecting there to be additional wiring in here. All right, so it comes out from the bottom first. Okay. And then it comes out from the top. Now, some people have said that they actually take this entire thing off, but I can reach the bolts I need to replace this bit without actually touching anything else. So I'm going to go in and remove it. So there's just two 7mm bolts that hold this in place. So I'm going to remove those. I'm going to worry about these bolts in a second. All right, so two bolts are out. And then I just pull forwards and the whole radio comes out. Now in the back here, we're going to undo some of the connectors and then we'll be able to put the new radio in the fascia and off we go. Okay, so we've got the whole of this radio console out. Obviously, we're going to have to undo these bolts and then put the new radio in its place. But I want to call out this scratch here that you can see there. Obviously, the one on the bezel. The one on the bezel is just going to stay. We didn't buy a replacement bezel. But if you look here, this home button is very crunchy. So this radio needs replacing. It's pretty obvious. Got to get these two pins lined up. There we go. That's in. That looks beautiful. All right. Now this, I believe, is new old stock. So I just hope that it does actually work, because I've got this horrible feeling that we're going to put it in and it's going to have some horrible issue, but I don't think so. So with everything replaced, nice buttons that actually work, and this actually works. I want to kind of point out that this is just the touchscreen that we're replacing. The actual brains is back here. This one's got a Bluetooth and a Wi-Fi module, so this is the same module that the car has always had. We're not replacing that, so we don't have to repair it with anything. It's literally just the screen that is being replaced. So let's put everything back together. Now, these locking tabs are a pain in the butt to get in. But I am going to make sure that I put them in properly and that all of the locking tabs, these little white things here, properly go as they are supposed to. So let's put everything back. Let's start off with the USB. So this USB is the one that goes down to your USB connector down in the center console. That is very easy. It's just clipped in like that. These two are a little bit more complicated because they are keyed and they also have protectors on them. I'll put those in like that. So once you pushed it in, you then have to do that little white clip to make sure it stays. You don't want it to come out. And I'm doing a little bit of contortion here, I'm afraid, to connect everything up because the loom is very short. They really did very carefully design the loom, and there's not a lot of room for change or movement. So I do want to call down here to this little bit here, this grey connector. You'll see there's that black connector with some cabling to it. That is for the hazard warning lights, the sport button and the traction control button. But these here, these are dead connectors, and I don't think there's any kind of pins in there. But it looks as if you could replace this whole unit with another one of these, and then you'd get functional buttons here. I think that would be possible. So if you wanted to add extra buttons, I know some people add joke buttons here that don't actually do anything, but I think you could add some extra buttons here. All right, let's pop this back in. It's getting hot. This is not easy. you just sort of have to take your time and gently push everything back in until you hear it click, and just be really gentle and methodical. Now it's back. Okay, let's turn the car on and see if it works. Well, that was quick. Bolt EV. This is exactly what it should do. I'm going to make sure the radio is turned down so we don't get any takedown notices. 72 degrees, that is perfect. Let's make sure that the touchscreen works. It does. Projection. That should work also. My Bluetooth is connected. That ding is because the tailgate is open, nothing we've done. But everything works. We can change all the info. This is nice and clear on here. Jobs are good in. Heated seat buttons work. Not that you need them on a day like today when it's forecast to be well over 100 degrees, but everything works as it should. And the home button works. We are, in fact, done. And if you've made it through the video, thank you. Let me know if you'd like us to make more DIY tutorial-esque videos without, the horrible heatwave hair, because I really like making these kind of videos. And as I think many of you have noticed, we're trying to make videos that we ourselves would watch on this channel rather than make videos to appease the mighty AI. Because, I've read Dungeon Crawler Carl. I know what happens if you do that. So if you want to see us continue to make videos like this, please let us know in the down below. And also, please consider subscribing. You can hit that subscribe button on YouTube or on PeerTube, depending on where you've seen it. And if you would like us to continue making content like this, well, I do need your help. This is my wife's car. Unfortunately, recently she did lose her job after 11 years at the same company. It's the third time that she has been made redundant in her entire working career, more than 30 years in the industry. Unfortunately, this time it was corporate restructuring, as is so often the case. And the downside of that is that her income was actually what paid the bills at my house. So the mortgage, the electricity bill, all of that stuff, that came directly from her job. And Transport Evolved's income has gotten to be used towards paying TE's bills, like our insurance. Insurance as a YouTube channel is kind of expensive. Paying for all of the things that we buy to help make videos, the microphones, the cameras, they are all line items that are thousands of dollars when you add them all up. But also paying the team, paying Erin, paying Vi, making sure everyone has health insurance, making those who want to use retirement programs can use those. It all takes money, and I haven't pulled any money out from my own salary for a really long time, but with my wife's job gone, I need to start pulling a salary in order to continue to pay bills at the house and also pay bills at the business. If you'd like to help, now is a great time to do so. You can go to patreon.com/Transport Evolved and support us from $1.50 a month. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on either side of me right now. They are the reason that we are still here right now. Many of them really did step up to the plate in the last few months to help us continue making this great content. And if you can, I would love you to join that group if you haven't yet. You can also go to our swag store and buy one of our t-shirts like this one I'm wearing here. This is a kind of an old grotty t-shirt now, but it does say End Charging Deserts. Which is a t-shirt I think we've been selling now for a couple of years. And there are some great Pride t-shirts in there as well, as we are in the month of Pride. So, take your pick. You can also send us old-fashioned checks. Link to our mailing address in the description. Thanks for being the positive change that we need to keep seeing in the world. Don't be afraid to repair your own vehicle. Right to repair all the way. And until next time, keep evolving.